Well, as predicted, it did get a little warmer today, although this warming trend pretty slow. 69 in Santa Barbara, 66 in Santa Maria, San Ynez 81, 92 in Paso Robles, and 77, the high since midnight in San Luis Obispo. Right now, we're still up into the 90s for most of the interior valleys. Paso Robles at 91, Shandon 91, San Luis Obispo 73, Santa Maria 70. So these temperatures are a little bit closer to what we typically see for this time of year. Still not quite there, but it is warming up, and it will continue to warm up through midweek before probably pulling back a little bit. And compared to yesterday at this time, Paso Robles, Shandon 6 or 7 degrees warmer than it was 24 hours ago. So you can see that trend is continuing. We still have this lower pressure area, new one actually approaching to the north and swinging into the area. So that's what's going to cause us to kind of cool back down again already as we head toward next weekend. So we're not going to quite make it, maybe just barely to typical highs for this time of year by the time we get into midweek, and then it'll start pulling back again. Meantime, that marine layer will stay with us throughout much of the weekend into next week as well. Paso Robles a little breezy so far this afternoon, not quite as bad as it has been, 16 miles per hour. We could see these winds picking up, though, as we head into the next couple of days again. Still less than advisory level. We have no advisories out there. And we don't have quite as much low cloud and fog coverage overnight tonight. So this is the forecast model. This starts at midnight tonight. And you can see pushing back onshore in areas like Santa Maria, Lompoc, but not so much in San Luis Obispo and the interior valley. So the north staying a little bit clearer. Going to clear fairly early tomorrow. So if you're looking for another beach day, tomorrow might be your bet. We might see some earlier sunshine. We'll start the day with some clouds and fog, but we'll see some earlier sunshine. 96, the high in Paso Robles tomorrow, so definitely warming up. 77, San Luis Obispo, Santa Maria, 73 degrees. The beach is going to be in the 60s, but some upper 60s. Morro Bay, 66. Cambria, rather 65 in Morro Bay. 66 for Cambria. 75 perhaps in Avila Beach. The south-facing beach is going to clear out a little earlier. 90s for California Valley and Shandon, so that's a little more typical for this time of year. 72 in Napomo, Arroyo Grande about 69 degrees for a high. And then we'll see 82 in San Ynez and Solvang, 78 for Los Alamos. So summer is here after all, 72 for Carpinteria. Let's check your extended forecast. We are going to continue to warm up tomorrow, and then again pulling maybe back down again by the time we get to the end of the week. We'll still see some possible cloud cover in the early morning hours in Paso Robles through the end of this week, but by Friday a bit more sunshine, and we could see those triple digits returning by the time we get into Monday. San Luis Obispo looks like we're going to see a very, very slow warming trend. Not much of a change through the next several days. Fog and low clouds in the morning hours each day, perhaps climbing to the 80s by the time we get to the beginning of next week. Again, Santa Maria very similar. We're going to see the warmest day probably tomorrow. Then it retracts a little bit as we head to the weekend, but we'll get a bit more sunshine for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Santa Barbara going to stay with the low clouds for the morning hours, but we are going to see those temperatures being very, very typical for this time of year. So again, tomorrow probably your warmest day before it starts to pull back a little bit. And while the fog will diminish, we're not going to get rid of that. So expect, if you're heading to the beach, to run into some low clouds and fog in the morning, but it'll just burn off earlier, and we'll see some warmer temperatures as a result. And of course, the winds will continue the afternoon. Otherwise, we're in a pretty typical pattern, and again, we're going to stay pretty steady compared to the rest of the country, where they're seeing just lots of heat, lots of rain. We'll talk more about that during our 6 o'clock show coming up.